What to do with all those tendrils? Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Roos, and in this video we're gonna re-trellis lots of wild growing Hoyas while I answer all of your questions. And of course, as always, I'll add in updates on how the plants are doing now because I recorded this quite a while ago and I actually started to test out spiraling trellises since then. And I think I prefer them because the whole part of the Hoya is growing upwards, so there's a better chance of them growing from all the different nodes. Look at all that beautiful new growth. Keep that in mind as we're going through this video. I got all of these questions in through Instagram. Now, if you don't have Instagram, but you do have questions, feel free to leave them below this video because there were so many questions. I will be recording a part 2 so I can answer maybe your question in the next one if you leave it in the comments below. And while you're there, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It really helps me. Thank you! Just to quickly introduce you to what we're doing today, I'm no Hoya expert. I started with Hoya about 1 year and 1 month ago, almost exactly. So very new. I did collect them quite quickly and I've been reading about them and learning about them, watching all the Hoya content I could find, visiting Hoya experts to ask them your questions. If you want to see one of those videos, you can find that here with Paul Shirley. In some of those old newsletters that I read, the experts actually say that if a tendril finds support and is growing upwards, it will start to grow leaves rather than if it's just flopping about. This one was actually climbing 3 stories up in the grow tent. So it was like almost at the top of the tent. Some are growing into power outlets, being crazy, so they need some support. The questions I'm going to be answering are, some of them are very random, like what's my favorite color? Turquoise. Mickey just wanted to say hello to you. No, he really didn't, but I wanted him to. He's my little fluff ball that might interrupt this video. And he likes the Hoyas. He likes the tendrils, right, Mickey?
More Mickey at the end of this video with the bloopers.
First of all, we've got this Hoya macrophylla variegata pot of gold with the inside variegation. And as you can see, this is very horribly trellised up. I'm gonna give it a smaller trellis so that it fits better with this size of the plant. This is plant Velcro. I have it linked below so you can find it for yourself and you can cut the pieces that you need. I also have the thick one because I ordered it wrong first. But I kind of like this for big plants. My Alocasia, for example, is flopping over right now and I gave it a big support. And then you can also cut this into smaller pieces, so it might even save you some money if you're willing to cut a little bit more. The trellises I'm making are just metal wire for the garden, so with a dark green plastic around it. And I cut it to size and then just shape it however I want. More about that later. The first question that I got was, what are the best nurseries and also the best online shops for plants? And I actually made my website a little bit differently. So if you want to check that out, it's yogawithroos.com/plants. On there, you will now find a link to both my tips for the US and Europe. And I've linked my favorite shops, my favorite garden centers, my favorite botanic garden, planty places to visit, some brands and products that I really like, and also I linked to my Amazon storefront where you can directly buy things like the plant Velcro as well to make it a little bit easier for you. So check out my website, basically. Tips for pests. I actually have several videos about this. One of them is to identify pests, which might be helpful to identify them early. And then another video that I recently made is of how I treat my pests. Like I enjoy them, my pests, like my pets. How I treat pests, which is with predatory mites. It's the more organic way of doing it. It's more good for nature, I would say, to not use any pesticides. So I really am happy that I found these products. This is still too big, isn't it? Do you want a bigger one? Yeah, you do. Next question. What is one place in the world that you would want to live? And immediately I answered Costa Rica to that person because I thought it was such a fun question to ask. I also really loved Indonesia when I was there. So Indonesia, I was in 2011 and I absolutely loved it because it combines my passion for yoga and spirituality, surf, which both my boyfriend and I love to do. There is beach and warmth and tropical forests and plants, and it kind of combines everything that we both love. And that's the same for Costa Rica. I would love to visit there. I haven't been there yet. and I would love to visit and see the sea turtle projects that they do there. That's been a dream of mine for a really long time. And then also, of course, there is surf, there is warmth, there is a beautiful spiritual community there as well, and plants. What else can I say? Tropical jungles. So Costa Rica or Indonesia, I would love to live. I have to be careful because it looks like this plant is activated at a new node, which of course we highly support, but I don't want it to get stuck on the trellis. So we're gonna move that the other way. Okay, better. Next question. What's your favorite Disney film? Okay, this one. I am a huge Disney fan. We used to always watch all the Disney movies as they came out, and this is gonna answer actually another question because it's gonna show you how old I am. When Pocahontas came out, I became obsessed together with my mom. I did a speech in school.
And the presentation wasn't just about the Pocahontas film, it was actually about the real story of Pocahontas. If you don't know, the real story is quite different. It's worth looking that up. I was lucky to have an old babysitter who moved to the US, and she sent me all this information and books about the real Pocahontas story back then, which is when I was, I think, 9. So that's before even the internet was invented, maybe. It's crazy to say, but it's true.
I just loved her vibe, her connection to nature, her diving off of huge rocks, her canoeing in wild rivers, a powerful, strong, outdoorsy woman that I absolutely love that movie. And then the same goes for Mulan, a strong fighter who goes against the grain, who doesn't do what is expected. Those two I love. And I'm hoping that this one will start to grow again because it's slowed down a lot. There we go. That's one. I need to speed this up because I have a lot to do.
Here is the update as promised. This plant stopped growing pretty much, so I decided to cut it recently, as you can see here, and there is new growth already in that corner. So that is amazing. I hope it's gonna keep growing. And then these points down here, 2 of them have also activated. So I wonder if they're gonna continue growing. It would be lovely to have a nice full plant. It still has about 6 leaves, so still looks really cool. And just a little random in-between thing, since it's hanging over this plant. This is the Hoya Krohniana that started flowering for me a while back, and this is the second flower on this plant. Thought you might want to see, since I haven't had many Hoya flowers yet. It's kind of fun. This really smells like hyacinths to us, and it makes the whole house smell like it too. So very, very cool. That's hanging there on the fungi. And this is what the plant itself looks like. Very random because this has nothing to do with the rest of this video, but I thought you might want to see. I completely blasted it with light, so this is very light bleached, or however you want to call it, but it did make it flower, so I guess that's good. And then in the terrarium we have the propagation that I took. It's just 1 leaf, and it hasn't grown yet, although that point does look activated now. It didn't... Oh, that's new. It wasn't here before when I checked it. So that's very awesome. This is alive and growing in the terrarium perfect settings. Yay, that's cool.
Okay, this one is my Hoya erythrina. It's been growing so much. It came with these 2 leaves and a tendril, and since then it's grown all of these other leaves and a new tendril from here. I got some questions about Anthurium seedlings. The main thing to know is it is very hard to find seeds. You need to either know someone or find a reputable seller. If someone has them, don't automatically ask if you can buy them. It's super exciting to try something new, and then it's kind of annoying when people come in and ask you to take that from you. It's like you have a new toy and then people are asking to buy it off you, if that makes sense. I can't talk and do this at the same time, I've noticed, so this is gonna be interesting. Okay, next question. Focus. You can do it, Rose. You can do it. What kind of soil do I use? I have a video about this, so you can just click the video that I'm gonna link up here. Basically, I mix my own soil with different chunky bits. I also got a lot of questions about Alocasia care. I actually made a video about that, so go check that out. It will have a lot of tips for you. It is really normal for this time of year to be hard on your Alocasias.
Here's what the erythrina looks like now. It hasn't grown a lot. I did put it on a spiral trellis here, and there's some new growth mainly here. Grew a new stem that's now going up here. But yeah, looks pretty good. I also wanted to show you my Alocasias since I was talking about them in the video. This one is quite new, so I didn't have that for winter. The dragon scale is doing great. It made a much smaller leaf after winter. As you can see, the previous leaves were this size. And it's finally making a new leaf here. So that's been quite slow for winter. And then actually I said my alocasias did great, but they have lost a lot of leaves, especially the Frydek or the Mycoliciana Mexkowski officially, because I think I was too lazy with the watering. I let it dry out too much. There are 4 growth points in here, if you can see, maybe 5 even. I haven't seen new growth on this one yet. I hope it will activate again for spring soon. Ooh, let's take this really long one. For this one, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a bigger trellis. And this is actually a good one to show you. I got a lot of questions about Hoya propagation. I'm gonna make a separate video about plant propagation for more beginner type people, normal friends who are not yet into plants or getting into plants, just wanna know the basics. But Hoyas, I like to root and grow in soil, in high humidity, so either a plastic baggie or a terrarium or a tent with nice warmth from below. A warmer temperature from below can really help to activate the roots a little bit quicker, and then with enough light from above as well. So that's why a terrarium with a heat mat, for example, is great. And that's how I've grown this one. This is my Hoya verticillata FD Weibergier GPS 101771, which I got as a gift with an order. I got like a stem and 1 leaf. I stuck it in here with, 2 leaves actually, these 2. And then it grew a tendril, and then it grew a leaf, and then it grew another tendril. So it's been doing really well. But yeah, I like to root my Hoyas in soil directly, and I also do them in seramis, not necessarily because I think it's better, but because my experienced Hoya friends actually told me that they have a lot of success with it, and I wanted to make sure that I didn't kill any of my more rare Hoya cuttings. Let me see if I can rescue these leaves, make sure that they stay on. Okay. So far so good. Phew, that was scary. Another question, how do you treat plants that you own but you don't actually really like? And I've been giving them away to my friends and my family. If they are a little bit more basic plants, it's nice to give them to friends that are getting into plants. Then they can start to try with plants that they get from you. Extra fun. If they are a little bit more difficult or more rare or uncommon, you can also try and sell them. Fresh money for new plants, but you have to make sure that they are healthy and happy. So it takes a little bit more effort if you're trying to sell them. This is the verticillata now. It has grown quite a lot longer. One of the small leaves that we saw before actually grew big, and then it recently made another one, which I feel like is too close to the light, but I've since changed the light in my tent, so it should be okay. And there's a new little tendril growing here that I've also tied up on this trellis. No pink or purple splash yet though. We're waiting patiently, trying to softly blast it with light, if that's a thing, softly blasting. But yeah, this is the plant that can make the purple splash. So far so good.
By the way, the sun is shining today and I love the sun, so I decided to just wing it, and I hope that my face isn't totally washed out. I am moving more into the corner, so the lighting is hopefully okay for you guys. Sorry about that. This next one hasn't got any trellis yet. And this is my beautiful Hoya incrassata variegata that is growing in my tent. It loves it in there, and it's grown this whole new tendril, which was growing up several stories. And it's got baby leaves on there, so we have to be really careful. How do your neglected plants look so good? I shared on Instagram recently that I've been totally neglecting my plants. I've been forgetting to water them, and some of them definitely did not look good. My begonia maculata was completely dried out. My polyneura, which is hanging right above you, was completely shriveled up and sad looking. If you're lucky, the roots haven't died yet from shriveling up, so then when you water them, they rejuvenate. So keep an eye on it. If you have neglected your plants, don't just go back straight into watering them enthusiastically, because it might mess them up even more. Sometimes if the tendril doesn't want to go exactly the way I want it to go, I don't directly tie it against the thing, but I just leave it a little bit more loose so I can slowly coax it into the direction I want it in, because they can break. I have broken them off before, so be careful. Be careful. Let's see, I'll tie this one up as well, because I think it was growing another tendril on here. How to prevent and treat root rot on Hoya specifically. The most important thing is your soil.
Hi, Rose from the future here. I just wanted to say that right now I do think that the most important thing for Hoya happiness is light. And basically for all plant happiness is light. If you don't give them enough light, then they might survive, but it's very, very easy then to overwater or to kill them, when if you give them enough light, they are much more resilient and just able to maybe take your too much water or your too little water a little bit easier. So that's not said in this answer, but it is the most important.
The most important thing is your soil. So make sure that your soil is airy, that it is well draining, doesn't hold on to moisture too much, so that when you water your plant, it soaks the soil, but it also puts any excess water through. Then also, of course, don't overwater in general. Don't let them sit in a pot where the water sits around the roots. But the annoying thing is also don't underwater, because like I said before, if you do and it dries out too much, the roots have shriveled up so much that they have basically died and they cannot take up any water anymore. How to treat it? I take cuttings of the parts that are still healthy, I reroot them, and I hope that it grows again. Here we go, Hoya incrassata is done.
This is what the Hoya incrassata variegata looks like now. It's really pretty. Oh, I think there's actually a fully white leaf right there. That's interesting. Just to explain the water noises that you hear. Always when I go to check on the tent, Maggie is like, can I please have some water from the tap? When I gave this too much light, these two leaves became fully red and like crunkled up. And then I lessened the light and now they just have a lot of white, which is really pretty. The other ones have less white, especially because it was getting less light. So I feel like it's definitely related. And as you can see, it's grown quite a few new leaves, even though I've also kicked off quite a few. Happy with this one.
2 more and a few more questions. You don't have any leaves anymore. This stupid deykeae, all the tiny baby leaves broke off. I'm happy that he still has a tendril, but it's not great. One of the questions was also about Dutch growing conditions, specifically without any grow lights or terrariums or anything, which makes sense. Not everyone wants to have all that stuff in their house. And I actually have Hoyas in every part of my house. So my growing conditions outside of my tent and terrarium are my south-facing window, where they are hanging and they get quite a lot of light. Obviously, it's a south-facing window. I make sure that I water them enough because they are in that warm and bright space. They dry out a lot quicker, so you have to keep an eye on that if you do put them there. I think they can also grow in less bright places, but from what I've noticed, Hoyas really do love a lot of light. They don't necessarily care so much about humidity unless they are propagations, from my experience. Actually, a lot of Hoyas can take colder climates. If you watch videos from people in, for example, Indonesia, I love to watch Sean from Only Plants on YouTube. The Hoyas that he has trouble with are Hoyas that are easily grown here in the Netherlands because it is colder. He, in Indonesia, obviously has a very humid and very warm climate. The humidity is not so much an issue, but the climate, the warmth, doesn't give certain Hoyas the cold that they need to develop more. For example, Hoya linearis can take a little bit more cold. Hoya serpens, Hoya retusa actually like it colder. So I'm growing them closer to my windows, my north-facing windows where it's a little bit colder in summer because it still gets light, but not the warmth that the south-facing windows create.
And there's actually a really useful list on Vermont Hoyas. Doug Chamberlain, who knows a lot about Hoyas, I don't know if he made it or if he found this somewhere, but he made a very clear list of certain Hoyas that we like to grow with their climate, either cool, warm, or intermediate. So that's very helpful. I will link it in the description below.
This went pretty well, actually. I don't have to do anything anymore. Oh, by the way, why do I do this turning around thing, the circling? That's just for space purposes.
This is what the deykeae looks like now. Unfortunately, the top of the tendril fully dried out, so that's no longer with us. And it has 2 new growth points, one down there, making a new leaf, and one here. But this is recent. This is like from the last 3 weeks. It's not done anything all winter, so it's been really, really slow. There was another growth point down there. Let me zoom in. I don't know if you can still see it, but the leaves broke off. I guess 2 growth points at the same time is enough. And I recently, sadly, broke off this little leaf. It was here, but not anymore. So now we have just this beautiful one, which is still hardening off, and that one. Very, very slow, very, very tricky plant, in my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments.
The sun is basically hitting my face now. I can actually close the window. Hopefully it's not too dark now. It's only 1 more plant and 1.5 more questions. I do fertilize my Hoyas and basically all my plants with liquid gold leaf fertilizer, which I've talked about several times. 1 more question was, do I only use it with the watering or do I also use it as a foliar spray? And I do, but not so much on Hoya, more on my aroids. I read somewhere that it can be bad to spray your Hoyas, so I don't do that anymore. Last one, this is my Hoya camphorifolia, which is super big. I got this as a small plant from an online shop called Eurotropicals, which is on my website, and it's grown so much. I love it. It's so easy. We have some yellow leaves, by the way. I usually check because it means that one tendril probably isn't happy, or it's just old leaves, but these are not old leaves, so I don't know exactly what is happening here. The tendrils were growing all over the place, so we're gonna tie this up. The question I get a lot, where do your Hoya trellises come from? This is a trellis I got from Hoya, which is a Dutch shop, but unfortunately they took it out of collection, so you cannot find these anymore. Either in the beginning I use one of these to tie the tendril on, and then once they get bigger I make a little loop from one of those metal thingies. So I can't help you with that, sorry. It also is really fun. I used to make trellises, excuse my amazing fashion, it's really cold in the house. I used to make trellises out of things that I would find in shops like this. This is a note holder, and then I would just break off the base and stick it in a pot and create a trellis like that. You can do whatever you want. You can get the bamboo sticks. They are pretty amazing to use as, hey Mickey, as trellises. Mickey, stop. You can use the metal things that I use. These two are very best friends. We're gonna untangle them. Stop, Mickey. Yes, you're cute, but you can't ruin my plants. Actually, let's talk about that. That was a question I get as well a lot. How I deal with my cats and my plants, and what I do with them eating them and stuff. But my cats have never eaten my plants. The only thing they do with them is try and get petted by the tendrils or whatever else leaf is sticking out. So that's a little bit annoying. It can break off some leaves sometimes, but they never eat them, so I don't have to worry about that. And usually they don't harass my plants too much. But I definitely recommend, if you do have pets, to make sure that your plants are not poisonous. If you get kittens, make sure that you put your plants up high so they can't reach. And also if you have big pots, it can be really annoying because they start to dig into the soil and maybe poop in there. So make it work for you and your pets. That's my camphorifolia done. This is the camphorifolia now. It still has leaves that are yellowing and falling off. For winter it wasn't super happy, but I added a new grow light here, so it's a little bit more happy. And you can already see again that are new trellises, no, new tendrils growing all over the place. So yeah, I'm hoping for this one to get some peduncles one day so we can actually see it flower, since it's quite a bushy big plant. But luckily we have a lacunosa over here that is about to flower, so we have some flowers on this shelf. I guess that's it. We have re-trellised all the Hoyas that I needed to. I think I've chatted enough anyway. Like I said, if you have more questions, please leave them below. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know below if you do enjoy question and answer videos or if you prefer something else. Oh, and a big thank you to all of my patrons and YouTube members. You can find the link in the description below, or just click the join button for the YouTube membership. It's just a lot of fun. So hopefully see you there, or just see you in the next video. Thanks so much, guys. Bye. I guess that's it. We've repotted. No, I keep saying repotted. Pop it in a pot and try and... There we go. Sunshine and cat cuddles. What else do we need in life? Mickey! Okay, we're just gonna continue. So, he's not distracting at all. Maggie is like, can I please have some water from the tap? I prefer fresh water, Mommy. She's so fluffy and cute. Anyway,